All right. Hello, viewers and listeners. Dr. Pete here. And today I'm really excited to be chatting with a friend of mine and a wonderful guy that I've known for a long time and actually went to university and chiropractic school with, and that is Dr. Adam Bletsoe. And so hi, Adam, and welcome to the podcast.
Hey, Dr. Pete. Great to see you, man.
Great to see you too, Dr. Adam. So I have been noticing on Facebook and Instagram that over the last, I guess, few years, Adam has been posting about meditation, and I believe you're teaching,
Yes.
either your practice members or other people, and you're doing some stuff with an app, and we're going to get into that later. But the first time I meditated was about 20 years ago. And I actually, when I was going to my first chiropractor, he had a book, he had a lending library, and he had a book there. And I don't really know why. One day I just picked it off a shelf, and it was called, I don't know if you've seen this one, How to Meditate by Lawrence Lashan. Have you heard of that
Oh,
one?
no.
Go on. Apparently a classic, like it's an old book.
Yeah.
I picked it up and I read it, and I don't really know why. I started with just like breath counting. Meditation. Yeah. And so since that time, meditation has been intermittent in my life, and very much like for, if there's people listening that, you try working out and it's good for you, but then you get off track and then you get back to it, right? But whether that's their workouts or chiropractic care, but that was like meditation for me, because I'd always get these really cool things when I would do it, and then life would get busy or something and I get off track. And so, and I find now today, I recommend it to a lot of patients, but almost like, I don't want to say universally, but most people say to me, oh, when will I have find the time to do this? Number one, or number two, I tried it and it's too hard. And I know that they haven't, you know what I mean? They haven't really felt the payoff. So, but why don't we start with sharing, how did you get into meditation, and how do you see it fitting into, your life and the life of people you teach it to?
Oh, absolutely. We're the same in that way. I've been meditating since I was 13 years old.
Wow.
And but intermittently, like you said, I've got about 5 different times in my life when meditation took over. And the first time I was 13 years old by almost accident, just because I thought I should meditate. And then later on, I grabbed a book just like you and read it, and it got me through university at one point, and it got me through chiropractic at another point. And then I met a teacher in later in my practice years who was a practice member in my clinic. And she and I would speak about chiropractic, or I would teach her about chiropractic, and she would teach me about meditation, and we were saying the same thing. We were talking about turning on the healing portion of the nervous system. We were talking about getting the cortex or the frontal lobe firing and turning off that stress response, and then just simply allowing the body to do what the body does, which is generally, like you said, really cool things. Mm-hmm. And she offered for me to come to her program as a student. I was a student. And in so, like I said, I meditated 5 different times in my life. And I got blown away. We study a lot of health stuff, and this just cracked me right open. And I thought I would love chiropractic because it comes from the body and it goes to the brain. And then I thought, wouldn't it be neat to start to address the brain down to the body? And so I started picking up on meditation, and now it's been about 5 years meditating consistently.
When you say consistency, what's your routine? Like, when do you do it? And I guess I would say that too, because there's a lot of different forms of meditation. And so
Sure.
what do you do?
So what I do is, back in the day, I've been a morning guy forever. So, maybe the clients or those that are listening here, what kind of person are you? Where's your space? And like you said, Pete, sometimes people don't have space for themselves in their lives. But for me, I had to wake up before the kids got up. So I would wake up at 6 a.m. and the kids would get up at 7. And I would have a minute to wind down, and I would meditate downstairs on the couch while the kids were still in bed. And then I'd get ready for the day, and then the kids woke up. And so I would meditate anywhere between 5 minutes, depending what I had in me, my energy for the day, and 20 minutes I would meditate. And it would be just about every day. And like most of us busy folks, the weekends sometimes got thrown to the wind. Sometimes I'd meditate, sometimes I wouldn't. I'd often feel it when I missed it, but I would meditate about 20 minutes. Sometimes, like you, I'm busy, and when you're at the clinic, it can get kind of hairy with all the different appointments. And so sometimes I'll meditate for 5 minutes at lunch.
So I want to just go back. So when you when you do say meditate, can you describe actually what are you doing, or what posture are you in, or how do you?
Sure. Yeah. There's 3 different postures to meditation, generally speaking. There's the most common one is just seated in a chair. So your back against the back of the chair, your chest bones open, your head tall on your spine. And if you're sitting on a kind of like a dining chair or a desk chair, your feet would be on the floor. But some people love sitting on a sofa or in a larger recliner, so they would cross their legs. And so I tend to sit cross-legged. Nothing interesting, just crisscross applesauce like the kids in kindergarten. And place your hands wherever you want. So generally mine end up in my lap. And then I would usually use a timer on the app that I tend to like. And I would time myself. Sometimes I would do a guided meditation by another practitioner because that would help me at times when I'm feeling stressed or unable to focus. And other times, what I would mostly do is just tune into my breath. I would just watch my breath, generally at the nose or at the belly, and just learn to observe my breath from a distance, not get in the way. And kind of as you would refer to at the beginning here, the idea of breath counting, I would move away from breath counting over time, and I would simply just watch the breath as it is. Because the neat thing about the breath is this breath is in the present moment. The breath that's past is already gone, and the breath that's coming hasn't happened yet. So the breath is just the perfect way for us to tune into the present moment within our body.
Awesome. Now, when you, if we just dig a little deeper there, when you are, if you look at when you first started doing it, and what kind of, I guess I know I have an answer, but do you get any physical sensations during your meditation? The longer you do it, that kind of stuff that sort of indicates to you how it's going.
One of the ways it's been. I'll give you 2 answers to that if it's okay. One of the struggles with meditation is thinking you're doing it right.
Yeah.
And if you're looking to do it right, you're doing it wrong. If I were to short form that. And if we're trying too hard, we're doing it wrong. And if it looks the same as last time, we're doing it wrong. So the answer to the question is coming at it with a bit of a lighthearted approach. So in other words, allowing yourself to do it wrong, or sometimes not feel anything, because even those who don't feel anything are getting the benefits because they're paying attention to this present moment. And in so they're getting here and they're coming into the moment. Now, that said, over time, there are some typical side effects of getting into the present moment and becoming present, which are the body starts to relax. A lot of people remark that their hands and their feet get warm and heavy. A lot of people remark that they no longer are noticing how long it's been. In other words, time sort of gets a bit blurry, and they sort of are just in whatever they're focusing on. Some people choose to focus on their breath, some a candle, some a mantra, others the audio, and they basically lose connection with their body for a moment, so their body becomes sort of blurred into the surroundings. Those are some typical things. And when they come out, they'll feel very relaxed and light.
Yeah, I think that's when I've done it, I've always had a lot of sensations. So that's something I told patients to do it, and they say, "Well, I didn't feel anything." I'm like, "How could you not feel anything? Like it's a huge difference." But it could just be where they're at, or maybe they need to stick with it a bit longer. But one of at some points when I had meditated, and maybe you're the same here, it was like sort of to almost like escape or insulate yourself from the stresses going on, and
relax.
It can certainly serve that purpose. But
yeah.
The biggest benefit that I have noticed personally is not what's in the meditation, but what happens if I'm doing it consistently, how my day goes. So I have
absolutely
done it often enough on and off to notice that my days go better when I meditate, and I find the right words, and I drive better, and I think I adjust my patience better. And it's a very tangible thing. And, you know, and that's what reinforces it, or that's what brings me back to it.
Yeah.
You know,
That's what, you know, it's been said that you don't meditate for the benefit in it. You meditate for the benefit after.
yeah.
Just like you're saying, that the best way to measure the results of meditation would be to ask your family, ask your spouse, ask the results at work, ask the results at your endeavor, to see how they're going. And you'd see benefits in your general daily outcomes via the little investment you put into observing the self every day for 5 to 10 to 20 minutes or anywhere in between, really.
Yeah, and it is really, when you think about it, it's a very small investment, but
really small
payoff, right? It's huge. And there was a study that I came across. I think it's about, I think it was in 2011, and I don't have the reference on the tip of my tongue here, but they had some groups of people meditate, and they over so many months they were trained in meditation, and they looked at how that a number of things, but one of the things they looked at was telomerase activity, and I believe it was some of their. Are you familiar with this study?
Yes.
Yeah. And if you really like, and you get the full text and you read the study, what in my interpretation it says is, it wasn't per se the meditating that was associated with these changes. It was the people meditated, their affect or their moods or their self-perceptions and thoughts shifted because of the meditation, and that was what was associated with these positive biological markers changing. And it was so, to me, really, I really felt that, because that's what I notice is how I'm thinking. That's the first thing I notice is my thoughts and what I tend to focus on change after I meditate. You know what I mean? Like I'm more likely to worry and obsess on things. And if I get into a really solid meditation, then come out of it, I just naturally am, as opposed to, you know, because all of us learn to do affirmations, which is like, you know, sit here and I'm a good person, I'm a success, blah, 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 what all they are. And you're just like, you're pasting on top of something that's already there, versus meditation clearing the slate and then allowing these things to come up, which are
allowing you to see what is.
Yeah. So
right, and you know, I want to piggyback on that study for you, both of them. One of the things that comes up is the functional MRI study. So when they put an individual that's been meditating for years in an MRI, but they watch them over time while they're in that MRI, what they figured out is that there's a small part of the front left part of the brain, the prefrontal cortex on the left, that becomes thicker. And when it becomes thicker, like a muscle, it literally works better, and it's the part of our brain that can observe what's going on in the moment. And there's a catch-22 there, is when it becomes thicker, the amygdala and the hippocampus, which are two parts of the limbic system, the amygdala is the fire alarm, it's the stress response, the emotional brain, it becomes smaller. And the hippocampus becomes bigger. That's the library of memories. So we're able to remember things better. Now here's the cute part about it, is that, as you were saying there a minute ago, you're sort of talking about our story, that those individuals, they didn't get the benefit from meditating, they got the benefit that their affect changes. What they find out is that instead of living in our story, which is often stressful, and it's often from the past, and it's often inaccurate when we take a good look at it, instead of living through that story, we're living in the moment, and the moment is just innately more peaceful. And so then, as you said, the outcome measures are better, which is really cool. And the neat thing about it is it's permanent. It's permanent. They took a group of people on a retreat, and they divided it up like you're describing with these research studies. And they taught one of them relaxation techniques. And they taught the other group meditation techniques. And both of them, as we talked about a minute ago, can leave you feeling very relaxed. So you can almost not know the difference if you didn't really know meditation or relaxation. The trick was, when the retreat was over and everyone departed, they checked in with them 6 weeks later. The individuals that did the relaxation therapy, it ended immediately. It's like what you and I remember as the hot tub experience. The hot tub feels great when you're in it, but as soon as you get out, it's gone. Yeah. The relaxation therapy doesn't last. But the changes that happen to the brain when you meditate they change the way you see the world. So then the new you is witnessing the world in that very moment, and the next one, and the next one. So it actually reaffirms those nervous system pathways, and you keep the benefit of the meditation permanently, at least as far out as they've studied now, which isn't long enough, but it's, we're talking weeks, months, and then years.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think that's, I've often like wondered about the difference too between like, because like sometimes if you sleep or have a nap, you wake up and you feel like kind of rested and refreshed, but that's a very different feeling than when you go into a meditation and come out of it. So there's something different going on neurophysiologically, and that what you touched on too, which is that we're I guess the term we could use is facilitation. So for people that are listening, why do people think a certain way, or how do people, you may have experienced this, when you're working with a patient, and I seem to see more of this now than maybe 10 years ago, and I think I know why, but
Right.
people that have a lot of health anxiety, in other words, or, like they're healthy, but because of Google, any little thing, they search it, and then they're worried, and they'll come in, I'm worried about have this, or I got to go see a specialist about that. And, they may have, again, I'm not to judge their situation, but relatively not a lot of problems, but the mind is fixating on these certain topics. And
Absolutely.
when it becomes facilitated, and you learn this as a healthcare provider, you can say to someone, oh no, you don't need to worry about this, Mrs. Jones. And it's like you're talking to the wall, because in their head, it's completely real. And I had, earlier in practice, I had some patients like this, and I thought, I'll just tell them that the reasons why they don't need to concern themselves with this. And you might have that conversation with the person 10 or 20 times before you realize they're not hearing this at all.
They're not listening. They can't listen.
They can't listen, yeah, but they can. That doesn't mean it's hopeless. They could rewire those pathways, and wouldn't say it to them that way, but by like, okay, another analogy is like the trail in the forest. Well, everybody walks on a certain trail, so the grass is dead there. But if you open up a new trail over time, slowly that can become the dominant way.
Take that path. Yes.
So meditation can help to facilitate that. A lot of times when things like affirmations or trying to change someone's point of view, it's just not going to work.
It's not going to work.
Yeah. So fascinating. Do you talk to your patients much about it, or is this kind of like do you think you do?
Sure. Yeah. We'll use it as an adjunct therapy. So it might be like you're saying, we point to meditation for certain people's situation. And as I said to you earlier, it's the same neurological pathways that chiropractic activates.
That is.
It absolutely is. And it has very similar effects to many of those things in our lives that we would recommend. So eating healthy nutrition helps us not set off the amygdala, and it helps us get into the proper nourishment of the cortex. Exercising stimulates the cortex, which has a downward effect over the whole body. Meditation stimulates the cortex, which has an effect on the body. Chiropractic stimulates the cortex and has an effect on the body. It's the same nervous system pathways.
Very cool.
The same nervous system pathways. And I just describe it as different doors. And like you were saying before, certain patients are going to be more prone to choosing nutrition, or certain patients might be more prone to choosing exercise or other. And so there's always a door that will work for them.
And we often default to talking about things in sort of scientific terms, but for the people listening that are just like, what's the benefit? What's this going to do for me in sort of real world terms? What could you say? Like, okay, I'm a person, maybe I'm busy. I have a company, and I'm busy with my company and my family. And what is taking this 15 minutes a day going to possibly do for me? Why should I add it into my routine? Why should I try it?
Sure. One of the phrases we use is less emotionality. So seeing things more clearly, therefore we're making better decisions. So for top performers, we speak to a group of cheerleaders, and those cheerleaders are young. They're young people. And for them, they're top performers right now. Why do they even need meditation? The reason is at that top performing level, we have all these biases and all these emotional scenarios that come into performing at a high level. If we can diffuse those emotional scenarios, we're not going to get rid of them, but able to observe them instead of be in them. We're still at the behind the driving wheel. We're still behind the steering wheel. We can control ourselves better. We can make better choices. There's what you described earlier as the simple state of just being more relaxed, more in flow, more calm, and not always kind of letting our body run away with us.
Mm-hmm.
Our body and emotions run away with us.
Yeah, and again, I mean, I'm sure that's always been a problem, but today it's like if you're on Twitter, which
absolutely,
if you're cursed to be on Twitter, I'm on there mostly for sports stuff, but it's the hot take world. So somebody sees something and immediately out goes there. How many characters is it? 100, whatever, or how many words of a reaction, and it's reaction, right? And then I was reading, somebody had actually posted this on Twitter and was like, I would just like it better if people, when they saw something, they just stopped and stepped back before they, just spit out there, this is wrong, this is right, this is whatever that initial reaction was. Because if you really step back from life, things are not really black and white generally. They're kind of different, gray, and depending on your perspective, they can, but I guess it's probably even an addictive sort of in that, that reactivity mode, like it's almost an automatic or an addictive pattern of just see something and respond, as opposed to training ourselves to be more observant and present.
You're describing that path in the forest again.
Yes.
You see the thing and you walk right down the easiest path to travel down.
Right.
And our nervous system responds so quickly, the nerves fire immediately, and you can find yourself falling down that pathway almost immediately. Mindfulness and meditation gives you an opportunity to make a choice. What we say is that in the present moment, there's calm. With that calm comes a small moment of peace. And with that little bit of peace comes the opportunity to make a choice. That's really what mindfulness gives you. It gives you the opportunity to make a choice. So life is still hard. Things are still challenging. And not everything feels good. But when that does happen in life, there's this moment where we get to choose how we're going to respond. And that's what grows with mindfulness and meditation. Kind of like what you said before, what do you get out of meditating for longer? The space becomes a little bigger. You get a little bit more latitude with how long you get to make that choice and how much space and opportunity there is to make that choice.
Very cool. And I think the more, the more you care about your life and your performance, almost the more valuable it becomes. I don't know. Have you read? You probably have, or The Surrender Experiment. Have you seen that?
No, tell me.
Michael Singer. So have you heard that? I don't know. Anyway, if you check it out, he goes in his book about how he started meditating when he was like, he moved to the woods in Florida to get away from life and just get away from us, and got into meditation. But as he got into meditation, how his life changed, his behavior changed. And instead of like sort of setting out, he didn't set out to do this, but life, as he says, life led him to, over time develop this, I don't know, $1 billion company and all this stuff in the States. And, he attributes his ability to ascend corporately and business wise to meditation, which is really, again, today, so many people, it's like, you set your goals and you grind towards your goals. And he's saying, no, like, the more you push, the more you get that resistance, versus he would just sort of meditate and chill out. And then the next thing would come and the next opportunity. And I've noticed that if you're paying
attention, you see it.
Well, that's another great point, which is those things may be all around us and we can't, that's and I found that too, because, when we have a problem, and if I have a problem in life and I look at it and go, I really don't know how to solve this or what to do about that, I will find often if I meditate, not necessarily like that day or whatever, but then and just spontaneously, here you go. It's like the solution presented to you. And it's like, wow, why couldn't I see that yesterday or a week ago or a month ago? But for whatever, the brain, nervous system, the mind was right in front of you, but you couldn't put those pieces together. So.
Absolutely. They describe the brain as really as a giant integration pot, right? And if we set an intention, there's a little bit to that, is if we set an intention to, let's say, solve a problem, and we put that in there, and then we allow ourselves to let go of it for the moment. We just release it. Maybe that means for the duration of time it takes to walk to the restroom and come back, or maybe we let go of it for a sleep and we wake up in the morning, and then we just let it come back to us. The brain's been doing all that integration work behind the scenes, just like you said, and then it presents it to you. And if we can listen better and observe better and focus better, we'll be able to pick it up when it pops up.
Cool. Yeah, I read that. You can't, to listen, you have to stop talking, right?
Right.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Not my expertise.
Not mine either. Yeah, but it can happen. This has been really fun. We're gonna wrap it up in a few minutes, but just to take it to a whole different level, bring it. Have you had any like cool sort of, I don't know, like mystical or weird experiences in your meditation? Have you had anything like that?
Gosh, I get clients who describe sort of out-of-body experiences when they meditate, especially new clients who aren't familiar with what it is when their body limits become a little blurred or when time disappears. And they'll have visions. They'll have visions that will lead them in their life afterwards. They'll see a parent that's passed away sending a message, or they'll pick up sort of a book, and then sure enough, the first phrase says something that's very important to them. Those types of things happen all the time. I describe it in the classes that if you follow the process and don't get in the way, the results and the outcomes will come without ceremony. Mm-hmm. These people often don't, an epiphany would seemingly come with a whole bunch of cheering and excitement and this gas, but most of the time the people come in and just tell me that for the first time in their life, or that they know what to do now, or they've sensed their purpose. It comes without ceremony, but often the story can be a little interesting. Mm-hmm. I got one from my own self, if you like.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you one?
Yeah, please.
Yeah. So I was in this, you might know the Spartan race.
I've heard.
Yeah, so I'm doing an obstacle race, and one of the concepts out there is epigenetics. And so epigenetics is the way in which we pass traits along from generation to generation, but non-genetically, through experience. And so we all experience that, all individuals experience that. And so there's this sort of thing called generational gratitude in the mindfulness world, which basically starts to say, as you can start to understand your family of origin, you'll start to see where a lot of your traits came from. They came from the working out of a lot of the earlier generations' challenges. And so as I'm running around this Spartan race, and I'm at the end of my abilities, I'm tired, I'm not going to make it any further, don't I have this image of my grandma and my uncle sort of floating in the sky. And of course, as I'm running, I'm almost laughing, going, what's this? Like, this is interesting, because I'm sure they're not floating in the sky. I can't see them visually, but I can sense them. And my grandma was always an interesting woman. She wasn't a very warm woman, let's put it that way, and that's being kind. And I had this moment where I went, oh my gosh, I'm here running because of all the support that my parents had given me in light of all the support she wasn't able to offer because of her own struggles. And in that moment, I had this sort of just a quick circle of saying, she wasn't unwarm. She was struggling with what she was struggling with. And just that full circle moment of clarity that, if you describe to many individuals, not to mention an entire YouTube channel, can sound a little weird. But the truth of what I got out of it is the meaning, right? I had the opportunity for whatever that was in that weird circumstance for me to just simply recognize that all of our family members are doing the best that they can do, even when it doesn't look that great. You know, a moment of forgiveness, a moment of connection, and a little bit of a moment of, you know, keep running, man. Get to the end of this race.
That's really cool.
So that was a neat little moment.
That's really cool. Yeah. See, this is good timing too, because I don't know if you're still into Star Wars, but of course the Rise of Skywalker is coming out, and my kids, we just my kids were never into Star Wars. And guys, you want to watch Star Wars? Nah, it's like it's old, whatever. And then somehow a couple weeks ago, they're like, Dad, we need Disney Plus. And I'm like, okay, fine. So we get Disney Plus now. In like 2 weeks, they've become the biggest Star Wars fans. They're watching The Mandalorian. They're watching all the
Mandalorian.
They're full on to Star Wars now, right? And so, but I'm like rewatching these movies, and I'm like, man, George Lucas, when he talks about the Force, is like, you're talking about this stuff, like being mindful, being present, being watching thoughts,
watching your emotions.
I know Lucas got that out of probably a lot of, you know, Buddhist or whatever teachings and so forth.
Absolutely, yeah.
Into his story, but I've had a lot of cool experiences. I'm not going to waste our listeners' time telling them today, but
sure.
That would be my encouragement to people is if you try it, just you don't really know what will, you know, the benefits are obvious of feeling more relaxed and maybe feeling more efficient and having a better memory, but there may be some really cool unexpected benefits or interesting things coming your way. So
cool.
Yeah. So to wind down here, so you've put out some, I believe, guided meditations. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Guided meditations.
About that. I'm going to tell viewers about what that is.
Okay. Well, if you go to, it's a bunch of guided meditations on the world's most popular meditation platform. So it's called Insight Timer. And the principle behind Insight Timer is it will actually track all the people that are meditating in the world on that app at that time. And there's thousands of people meditating at the same time together. So a bit of a collective, which is kind of cool. And teachers like me can load their meditations up into the app. So there's got to be 30,000 free meditations on that app. And there's about 4,000 teachers. And so you could go to that app, download it for free, and then just start to follow guided meditation teachers. And some of them offer courses, which are for money, or they'll offer a bit more of an involved process, which is also for money, but you don't need that. I've had it for years and I've never put any investment or money into it. And it happens that I've got a bunch of meditations on there, which is sort of how we saw each other again, through my sharing of that information with people.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link in the comment section for the YouTube video. I'm going to do this on the podcast version of this as well, is have a link to, you have a specific page in that app, you must, right?
Yeah, that's right. You'll search my name.
So we'll link that.
Once you download the app, you'll download it at Google Play or at Apple App Store.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
Okay, then they can get some personal guidance.
Absolutely, I'd love to see them.
Cool. Thanks so much for chatting and being on. This has been
Dr. P, I love you.
Hours. We're gonna have to do another one.
I'd love to.
Okay.
After watching Star Wars together.
After Star Wars, yeah. I'm really, it's very curious how they're going to end the whole thing. I can't wait.
Right. Or what they're going to start up with next. But isn't that life?
Yeah, for sure. It's a never-ending journey, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Adam.
Thanks, Dr. Pete.
We'll talk soon.